was burned out with the whole fucking profession within 6 months of graduating.
What up, guys? I'm Doc Raj.
I'm Doc Caitlin.
And today we're going to talk about the fucking problems that we have in the physical therapy industry. Where do we even start?
Well, first of all, I was burned out with the whole fucking profession within 6 months of graduating.
It's true. I mean, the average, I think it's faster than average. I think the average burnout rate reported is 2 years in PT, which I guess people are feeling burnt out for a while before they're like, fuck this, I'm burnt out, right? Yeah. It's like when they recognize that they're feeling burnt out. Do you think it has something to do with being overworked and underpaid and having absolutely no respect from physicians or your patients?
I think that probably hits the nail on the head. So the last straw for me at my job in the traditional PT model, which is just where you take insurance and it was a big hospital system, I worked my ass off my whole first year, and I got a 25-cent raise at my annual review.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I walked out of there like, what the actual fuck?
I took a job making $60,000 a year, and I justified it by saying they're going to pay for all my education, which, hey, they adjusted my schedule, they paid for my residency, they paid for both fellowships, they didn't make me sign anything saying I was going to stick around, and they got sold in the middle, shit went downhill, blah, blah, blah. In the end, I got shit for raises as well, and then I helped somebody else get a job at my clinic that I was working at. They were a new grad, I was a double fellow, I negotiated a $10,000 raise because the company was like in a shithole. I was trying to get more than that, and I ended up making $70,000 a year after threatening to leave as that one location was like already down, and I just had negotiating power of like if they didn't have a therapist in there, they were gonna have to shut it down. So I had some power to renegotiate, and I was like, yeah, maybe we'll just go somewhere else. And they're like, wait, hold on, we can't do that, but we'll do this. And then a couple months later, I helped somebody else get a job there, making $10,000 more than I was making, starting at $80,000 as a new grad. Big old middle finger to you, Roger, right? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
There's so much shit that happens like that, it's ridiculous.
So most orthopedic clinics, you're not only seeing active adults, like you're not working with athletes, like you think ortho sport, even in a sports clinic, you're still getting a lot of non-active people. When I went in there, that was the population that I wanted to work with, was active adults or active young adults. And most of my caseload, like I started becoming like the neuro-ish PT. Our clinic didn't have a neuro PT, but my caseload became it. I did well with those patients. And so then they just named me the neuro person. And so I started getting a lot of people who had fallen a lot of patients who were post-stroke. And it wasn't what I wanted, but it was what the clinic needed. And so I wasn't seeing the patients that I wanted to see. And I was kind of at the mercy of whatever they were just going to put on my schedule, which at the time I also didn't complain that much because those neuro patients, I got to see one-on-one for the hour. Whereas when I got my ortho patients, I was seeing between 2 and 4.
That sounds miserable either way. The clinic that I worked at, who won't name names, it would see 4 patients an hour, every hour, on the hour, and we had a 30% cancel rate, so they would book expecting 30% of people to cancel, and they canceled down to having 4 an hour on average. And it wasn't like every 15 minutes people would come in, it would be like 4 people at the same time on the hour, right, every hour. So, like a lot of people in the clinic would just throw people on a bike or a treadmill for 10 minutes, like, oh, you're here for your neck? You know what you need to do? You need to walk for 10 minutes to go warm up. You're like, what? You need a hot pack? You're sore? Let's give you a hot pack for 10 minutes. 15 maybe. You like that? I feel just a couple more minutes. Yeah, it's not anything to actually get them better. It's just a placeholder because you have to get your notes done. You've got 2, 3, 4 other patients, that are going at the same time, and they're running on timers, and it's like you can't pay attention to anybody.
So people end up getting neglected. They do exercises the wrong way. I remember talking to my supervisor at one point. I was like, this is terrible. People aren't getting the quality care. When I had ortho patients, I would be seeing way too many at once, and then you have to ditch your current patient at my clinic if there was an eval coming in, and so you just had to give that to a therapist who had no idea what their chart said. It's like, hey, do these 3 exercises. You're going to do this one for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and 3 minutes. Bye. Then you go walk your patient, and basically like say, hey, that's it for today. You're gonna be working remotely with Roger for the rest of the afternoon because I have a new, more important patient coming in. See ya. I spoke with my supervisor about all of this, and I was like, hey, like this has to change. There's something wrong with this. And he was like, well, that's the issue with the model that we're in. And at the time, I had no idea what that meant. I was like, what do you mean the model? Like, can we change it? And understanding now, you have to see in clinics that take insurance, you have to see a ton of patients, because when you submit the charges to insurance is like, we don't want to pay that much. So then they don't pay the physical therapy clinic as much. So then the physical therapy clinic has to see more patients to charge more in order to make more money to keep functioning. And that's just the circus that just keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business. They have to be profitable on the front end or on the back end as well. But on the front end, even just pay your salary. You want to make a good salary, right? You need to see enough patients to justify that salary. In the industry, typically in the insurance world, there's this thing called a labor efficiency ratio. For any job, it's like or business, how much money is the business making versus how much are you paying your employees, right? How much, like, the profit and loss above everybody's head, right? Now, the insurance clinics, they are all about the profit margins, and they want their therapists in general making the clinic 8 to 10 times more than they're gonna pay them. Right, because they have a lot of different overhead as well, where they're paying, billing, and they're paying all this stuff, and all the people that don't directly drive revenue. They have to pay their salaries as well, but also the shareholders of the public company, right, or whatever, the shareholders of the corporation want to see certain profit margins, which means that you're going to get paid shit, and you know what? You need to see more patients, because the board isn't happy with the way these numbers look on the back end. And the only way for us to drive more revenue is for you to see more patients, because we've got the insurance contracts, the agreements, right, where they're only going to pay us X dollars per, right? And then they're delayed 30, 60, 90 days, maybe get canceled on the back end. And it's a whole shit show where the system itself is fucked on the back end. That whole thing is nothing that you can do about it, right? But if you're not a great therapist already, you're gonna have a really hard time in a fast-paced clinic like that, because you need to be really fucking good to be able to get the information that you need to then get it fast, get it efficiently, so you can then be bumped over to the next person and be able to relay that communication effectively to anybody else that they might be seeing, whether that's an exercise tech or an aide, another therapist, to be able to effectively make it make sense for them in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, go see our podcast on how easy it is for patients to pull you off track in the process of all of that. So then from the patient experience perspective, they're coming in, they get lost in the mix. People aren't checking up on them if they stop coming or if they're not getting out of pain. They have a different therapist every week, so they don't know what to expect, and they're not actually getting back to the things that they want to do.
Yeah, so I mean, also some other issues here, right, are that people get promised mentorship and they don't get it, right? Like, hey, we're not going to overload your schedule, you're going to have mentorship, and like, it happens for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months if you're lucky. It's very minimal. None of it really makes sense. It's really just a therapist saying, hey, here's what I do. Or, their education department saying, read these studies, right? And like, that's about it. And nobody really teaches you exactly how to treat patients, how to talk to patients, like how to evaluate and treat and make it make sense to them, make it make sense to you, instead of just talking about like special tests and research and, well, this is just what we do for shoulder, here's some exercises, like actually giving you a thought process that then makes sense to you and you can replicate with everybody. And really there's two options, right? Like, one, you can leave the insurance world, which gives you more time with each patient and leaves you with more time to figure things out. Also, caveat to that though, you need to be really fucking good if you plan on charging anything reasonable for cash, if you want people to pay you. And if you plan on doing cash base and charging nothing, right? If you're charging $50 a visit, then you end up being part of the fucking problem too, right? Like, There's massage therapists out there that are making over $100 an hour, and you don't believe in your skill set and your value enough to charge more than that.
And the other option is that you have to get really, really good with your skill set as fast as possible to parse out what's actually going on so that you can give the best care to your patients, because you don't have time to tinker around and not get it right.
Yeah, I mean, really, you have to put the effort into learning a better skill set. You have to learn algorithms that are cut out the guesswork, that are gonna allow you to help your patients get better regardless of the type of clinic you're in. I have people that I've mentored that they're not even in, like they're doing home care and acute care, right? That we were just talking to the other day, and they're like, I still carry that stuff over, the way that I evaluate, the way that I treat. It makes so much sense. And even in these settings, like I can get the outcomes that nobody else can get, just because they are able to make it make sense and have this system of thinking that they can apply to anybody and everybody that they're treating, regardless of the setting that they're in or what model they're using, for payer model they're using.
Yeah, there's a million problems in the industry. You have to choose which way you're gonna go, which option you're gonna take.
Yeah, either way, it all comes down to getting really good, right? Whether you choose to, one, stay in the insurance world and just be really fucking good at what you're doing, or two, you choose to get in the cash world, you still have to get really fucking good at what you're doing. I guess the caveat there is that you should be, before you start charging cash, like you need to get really good at what you're doing anyways. Imagine how well you can do when you have an hour one-on-one with somebody, and when you can get baller outcomes when you only have a few minutes, 15 minutes a visit with somebody. That's what I did. I got really good, and I waited until I had an irrefutable stack of evidence that of my competence, that I could get these really amazing outcomes. And I was like, wow, look at what I'm doing compared to everybody else in the clinics that I'm working in, right? Look at the results that I'm getting. Look at the things your patients are saying. And I'm doing this as I'm losing my mind because there's just fires everywhere. Imagine the results that I could get if I was one-on-one with people. So then allowed me to leave and start charging a decent amount, like a reasonable amount for cash services, and have the confidence to be able to back that.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, sign up for our newsletter. Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on podcast and YouTube.
We actually have a free 3-week mini course that's going to be in the description box below. So if you guys want to start learning some of this stuff, you can click on that too and start learning. And remember,
if you are unhappy or unfulfilled in your career or in your life, no one is coming to save you. It is your responsibility to lead by example, to pursue excellence, to learn new skills,
and to welcome the challenge of raising the bar. You have to drive the change that you want to see.